Peacock Knits Podcast. My name is Heather, coming to you from Ottawa, Ontario. If you are new to the podcast, then welcome, and if you are a returning viewer, then welcome back. There seems to be a fair bit of road noise happening out here today, as well as some kind of event happening in the park behind my home. So there's quite a bit of music going on, which I'm hoping just adds to the background ambiance. But if it ends up being too loud, I'll just re-record this episode. So if you're new to the podcast, this is my podcast mostly related to knitting, some weaving, some dyeing, which I'm planning to do soon, and pretty much any other kind of crafty thing that I can get a hold of in the moment. I have some fun things to show you today. I've got finished objects, I've got half objects, and I plan to show you my vintage knitting machine, which I have pulled out. Actually, maybe I'll just get to that first. Do you have your coffee? I'm drinking something different. I was lazy and went through the drive-thru, and I'm drinking Tim Hortons coffee this morning. It's already got a couple of little friends that have joined me out here. Just kind of get rid of those. But I like this mug. It's nothing indie or handmade, but it says, all my friends are dead. I know there's a book that goes with it, or maybe there's two books, some t-shirts, but I've always gotten a kick out of this guy. So anyways, he's one of my go-to mugs. I just get a huge kick out of it. So yeah, my vintage knitting machine. Okay. So the story behind this knitting machine was that I really wanted to try out knitting machines, and I've always had a love for vintage things or vintage inspired things, but not just the look of them, but the feel of them and the things that they're made of, the materials that were used. And I was on a mailing list, or I'm still on the mailing list for some estate sales, and I like to go to those, especially when they say, sewing or crafting. I've found some real special things there, and I kind of like that I'm going to appreciate them. So I kind of like the idea that they've passed them on to me, So this one is a real gem. It's the Knitmaster 4500, which I believe is the British version, and then you can also get the North American version, or the one that was more available in North America, which is Knit King. But anyway, I was on the list for this estate sale, and I saw that they had a knitting machine. So I wrote them a message, found out how much it cost, asked them a bit more information about it, because the estate sales around here, I don't know what they're like around your area, but here there's usually a lineup down the street to get in. It doesn't really matter what the contents of the home are. I find if it's a listed estate sale, it's going to get quite a bit of traffic. So I went and I stood in the rain. I went an hour ahead of time. I was the second person in, and I had even kind of mapped out where in the house this was probably going to be located, and I went right up there and I bought it. Now, I probably didn't have to do that. This is by no means like a special super high-end knitting machine, but you'll see why I love it once I start showing it to you. First of all, one of the things about this knitting machine, and maybe I'll insert some footage here so you can see what I'm talking about instead of me showing you at the end. We'll see how this all rolls out. So I believe it's from the 50s, especially around this time. I find that it's pretty unlikely that they were going to put the date on it, but in my research it looks like it was from the 50s. So this find had not only the knitting machine, but all of the paperwork that went with it. So it has the instruction manual, and it's adorable. Even the logo has kind of the little skeins of yarn for the font. And it's pretty fun. Yeah, so it says, British and best. And so it has all the information about, how to set it up, how to clean it. It has quite a lot of patterns actually, and stitch patterns, and how to do it, which mostly involve moving the needles around. Preparing to knit a garment. The actual garments that they have in here are pretty neat. Some of the sweaters are kind of fun. This little dainty outfit here. This one's called the Exotic Evening Jumper. Very exotic. You know, classic tailored dress. In it came with the original accessories package, which I will show you the contents shortly. It contains a couple of transfer tools, a work hook, latch needle, rib holding device, and some spare needles. So I think I only have the, yeah, I kept the spare needles only in here just because, you know, this paper isn't going to hold up for too much longer. So I really didn't want to have to open and shut it all the time. It did. Here are all the little tools. What I love about the tools from this era is that so many of them are made out of Bakelite, which is one of my favorite materials. I don't know why. It's just the sweetest kind of plastic, and I just love it. So if you're familiar at all with knitting machines, a pretty common tool is a little latch hook, similar to what you would find for like rug hooking. It's just a little tool that has a hook and a little latch here. Yeah, so it's got, and it has another little needle end over here. Try to find the sweet spot still for this autofocus. Anyway, so with it came this kind of funny brush, which I actually use. I mean, it came with it. It's been very used, but I get a huge kick out of it. And yeah, all these little tools, all these original tools, all that same kind of maroon Bakelite handle. So this is one of the little transfer tools here. A little guarantee card. And then it came with some additional patterns, so you can make jumpers and jackets for age 2 to 12. Then there's this tartan waistcoat and socks. It says, warmth for windy day in a gay tartan waistcoat with socks to match. Which is super fantastic. A little extra note about some of the features on this machine. A handy thing, how to adapt hand knitting leaflets to your Knitmaster home knitting machine. These are tips on adapting it, which is really funny. Layette book. And this is, so, oh yeah, here's the other one it has here. What's this? Oh, sorry, I missed a couple. Yeah, okay. This one's fun. This is, I don't know what you would call this. I guess it's almost like, it's like a booklet of advertising for this book. I don't know if it is to make you feel glad about your purchase so you don't have buyer's remorse, or maybe it just came with every machine, I don't know, to give you some ideas on what you could use it for. Or maybe she got this first and then decided she was going to buy it. But so it shows a lady on the front happily knitting a sweater on this machine. So that's a picture of my machine, which I'll give you a closer look later. And it says here, I can knit a lovely jumper in less than 45 minutes on my new Knitmaster automatic. So as I'll show you shortly, it's not automatic. It's actually the most manual knitting machine that I've even been able to find. Yeah, so it says all the patterns and garments illustrated in this brochure were actually made on Knitmaster automatic models. So it gives you kind of the specs on the machine. It makes it look so glamorous. I don't know about you, but do you ever keep the leaflets from the cars that you buy and then look back on them later and they make your car look so glamorous even though it's 10 years old? I found my my brochures lately, and that's kind of exactly what happened. Okay, so it has, anyways, it's just really cute. It has really neat little things in it about how, technical leadership, super simplicity, Knitmaster reliability. All you need on any Knitmaster is any ball of wool. No awkward thread feeders required specifically around wool. No weights, combs, or clamps. Y latch needles for perfect hand knitting. Lightning latch opener. Super speed. Exclusive tension features. So it shows some of the lovely things you can make. Yeah, I just loved everything that came with it. Now, this is my favorite thing that came with this machine, is it came with the original sales slip. So again, it doesn't have a date on it. So I'm not sure, but it says it was purchased from Knit Sales, Canada, in Hamilton, Ontario. And this is the receipt. So all the patterns that I showed you that were included were 15 cents each. So when she bought the machine, she bought a bunch of patterns. 15 cents each. Some of them, such as that tartan waistcoat and socks, 20 cents. Double knits for men and women, 25 cents. Know Your Knitmaster, 30 cents. So it also included a bunch of accessories. Row counter, $5.50. Reversing bars, $6.25. So that's it. Oh, and it also came with special unpacking instructions, and everything's on the official letterhead. So the reason why I've been pulling out this knitting machine is to fix, this is Elephant. This is Declan's special friend, Elephant, and he has suffered a catastrophic injury. Now, you might be saying, Heather, why don't you just repair it? With your skill set, I'm sure you could fix this problem. It's just a stitch that's run. No, listen now. I have darned this thing. I have picked up stitches as they have dropped occasionally and picked them back up. This sweater now is so thin that there's no repairing it. I mean, I have to repair almost the whole sweater, so I decided to knit an entire sweater. Plus, he wasn't lined, so all of his little stuffing is coming out. So poor Elephant. I didn't make him, I bought him. And we do have a spare one, so I'm not like in a rush, but I said, why don't I just use my knitting machine? Honestly, I think I'll hand knit the arms, just because I wouldn't mind hand knitting part of it, but for the body. So it took me 20 minutes. So let me see if this is gonna work. So here is my Knitmaster 4500. You can see it has the little plaque here, Knitmaster. This here adjusts the gauge. So you dial it up or down, up to 10, depending on the weight of the yarn. So you could knit with fingering, you could knit with DK, and you basically just adjust this to make it work. Personally, I have found this machine to be rather finicky, and if it's not fingering weight, I generally don't use it on the machine. In fact, even if it's a rather kind of sticky wool, a grabby wool, I find it sometimes has problems. I'm not using anything fancy at all for Elephant sweater. This is Loops and Threads wool-like. which isn't at all like wool in my opinion, but anyway, 100% acrylic. Oh, sorry, 85% acrylic, 15% nylon. But what's nice about it is a fingering weight. The green matches, and it's got that very kind of slippery feeling, and my machine is loving it. Loving it. So yeah, so here it is. Here's all the little hooks. So they all have a little latch here, see? Yep, they all have a little latch that the yarn sits in there. Right now, these are all in a holding pattern. You can see that the ones that I'm using are all out, and all of the needles are down here. The ones I'm not using are all tucked up here, see? So you slide them down if you want to use them. I don't have the ribber for this machine, so I'm doing kind of I guess it's almost like a mock rib. But what ends up happening is I've only engaged every second needle. So what ends up happening, and I might be able to show you the reverse, but it's more like a looser knit, and it's not going to look as ribbed as Elephant's original sweater, but that's okay. I don't have a ribber, and I thought it was fun to just pull this machine out. Yeah, so I cast on 72 stitches. Yeah, 72. And I've since kind of taken it and wrapped it around him, and I think it's going to be just fine. But so this is the wrong side. I used kind of some scrap yarn to cast it on, because I don't know if it's just my machine, but I find the first few rows are often not as pretty as like once you get going. And so what I usually do is use some scrap yarn at the beginning, and then I take it out, and sometimes I'll do a folded hem, so I'll just put the stitches back on the needles and sew my hem across. Or in this case, what I'll probably do is I'll just pick up those stitches and cut off the scrap. And then the right side is here. So yeah. So including the scrap, I knit 71 stitches. Here's my handy row counter here. It's kind of like the old school Dymo machines. Yeah, 71 rows counts it for me. And yeah, that took me 20 minutes. And actually that 20 minutes included setting it up. So it took me 20 minutes to knit 71 rows, about 70 stitches. I think it's gonna look pretty good. Anyways, so now what I'm about to do with it is I'm gonna have the seam running down the side of this little sweater. So what I've already done is I've marked where the halfway point is on this sweater, and I'm going to have to split my ball into two and use it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can set this up so I can show you how I actually use this machine. It's kind of interesting because yeah, I'll show you. Give me 2 seconds here. I recorded myself using this machine outside, but real talk, guys, my backyard just isn't the prettiest space. There's a barbecue, some kids' play structures like a sandbox and a climber, and you know, it just didn't really look aesthetically pleasing. And I was a little rambly, so let's see if I can give you a shorter demo of how I use my knitting machine. Full warning, it goes a lot faster once you get going. So for the purpose of this demo, you'll see it might be a little slow, but I promise that once, if I'm actually knitting something on it, once I get going, it gets pretty fast. So again, this is just a plain knit. There's no fancy stitches involved. I've already cast on the stitches, so I'm just going to show you how it works. Again, I've already adjusted my tension, so I really just have to get going. I already showed you the machine earlier, so I'm just going to show you how it works. So this is about as manual as it gets. I have to feed my yarn underneath a sinker and lay it across my needles. And I just take the handle and I go over them. Then I take it again, lay it across, and that's it. So every time I lay the yarn across, I can do a row. Most knitting machines have a feeder, so you should just be able to take the handle and keep going across without stopping to, manually lay the yarn here. And for elephant sweater, because I had split the stitches, it took a little bit longer because I kind of had to do the back and while the front stitches were on hold, and then I went back and I did the front stitches. But yeah, but there's something kind of meditative about it. I don't know what it is. I kind of like putting it across. And it's actually pretty amazing the difference in fabric with the changing the tension. Just one number over will make the stitches quite a bit tighter. Yeah, anyway, I love it. That's how it works. Hooray! So there. Did you enjoy my knitting machine? It is not the easiest machine to use. It is finicky. It's definitely manual. I definitely have to set it up in a space where it's easy to use. Obviously I wouldn't normally set it up here on the deck where I'm doing it on the ground because that would just kill my back, but I can't bring myself to get rid of it. I paid about $100 for it, but there's just something about it that I love. I actually really love using it. I love laying the yarn across. I love, adjusting the tension and setting it up. There's just something really gratifying about it. So yeah, I've mostly knit some hats out of it. I did knit a sock, although I didn't find it was a particularly well, easy fitting sock. And I had to do quite a bit of seaming, so that wasn't great. But yeah, that's my Knitmaster. Okay, other than that, I have some show and tell, which is what I'm wearing. This is my finished Mount Pleasant that I have to show you. I couldn't be happier with the way it fits. Let me see if I can give you a little show and tell. I wanted it to wear mostly with dresses. I am so happy with the way it fits. Pairing it with this dress that I bought. This is an example of the kind of dress that I would like to pair with it. This one's cute, it has some feathers in a very similar shade of turquoise that's on here, as well as these darling little flowers. And part of the reason why I wanted a top like this to go with it is because the top of this dress is really just like a strappy kind of peasant dress. And the strap is really just like ribbon, like thin ribbon. And I just don't really wear strappy dresses like this anymore. It's just not really my thing, but I love the print so much. And it has pockets. I just think it looks great. I haven't even blocked it yet, so I've just been wearing it. But yeah, so that's it. This is Mount Pleasant by Megan Nodecker. Amarok yarns in the Lampion colorway. I'll try to see if I can put all the information on my project page. I've already made the project, but I'll see if there's any more information that I should include in there. So that's my finished object. Almost done, guys. Oh, they're really rocking out now. Here is my half object. These are my Rose City Rollers by Mara Catherine Briner. The yarn is Scrumptious Pearl and hot off the presses. And I showed this last week, but my sock was too big. I had made the 64 stitch sock, which I've done in the past, but I really forgot that a vanilla foot, sometimes when I make a 64-inch sock, the pattern has quite a lot of ribbing in it, or the pattern causes my tension to be tighter. So I wasn't really thinking. I went with it, and I was also using my 2.5 millimeter needles on it, so it just was too big. And they're shorties, so I mean, they really have to fit. So I ripped out my whole entire sock and I cast it back on using the 56 stitch. So a significant difference. I kept my 2.5 millimeter needles though, just because I really like the fabric that it was coming out with. This is a very plump yarn, so it doesn't really take all that much for, it really is lovely. And they fit so well. So I've cast on my second one, so I should have a pair to show you next time. Just looking, because it looks like I did something weird here. I have like a weird hole. What the heck? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? To darn that up. I don't know, I was watching the Mean Girls podcast last night, and Mean Girls Knit anyways, I was distracted. I thought it was a great episode. So that's it in my vintage sock blockers that I picked up the other week. I've been using my bag from 2 Sticks and You, which has a bunch of little foxes on it, really fun red lining. I have a matching DPN holder, which I'm not currently using. I'm using one that my sister made for me with little hedgehogs all over it. And yeah, I'm using my my signatures there. Yeah, I haven't gotten very far. I've literally just cast. I have a cast on edge. That's all I've got. So my second sock. This is the first sock unraveled, which was too big, so I know I have enough yardage there. And then because they're shorties, like I still have this much left over, so I might even get 2 pairs of shorties out of it. Like if I put a contrasting toe cuff, or toe and heel anyways, I could probably get 2 pairs of shorties out of that. So excited. Other than that, I have a little tiny bit of stash enhancement. My sister-in-law was going to the Edmonton Fibre Frolic, which obviously I couldn't get to being here in Ontario, and there are so many talented makers in Alberta. In fact, when I was taking a look at the number of Canadian makers that I follow, so many of them are in Alberta. So anyway, that's the place to live. So she was going there. I gave her very little direction, and this is what she came home with for me when she came for a visit. First of all, I wanted something from Sugartots, and I said basically I want something colorful with a strong speckle. Surprise me. Guys, this is amazing. The color is called Bubble. It is in the Plush sock, which is an 80/20, and look. I will let the picture on your screen do the talking. There is blue, navy, pink, green. Those are the colors in here. And I just love this branding. Oh my gosh. I was looking for something new. I'd really like to put on a two-toned shawl on my needles. I was gonna do Bendy Arrow because it's part of my Make 9, but I am starting to waver on that choice in general because there are so many amazing shawl designs that I really want to make. So I think I'm gonna make the Aura shawl, which I don't have the information with me, but when I decide what I'm making, I'm hoping to have this cast on for our next visit. Then I said, I also want something from Boss Lady Yarn. And I said, I'm really into navies right now. But again, just surprise me, you know? This is Like a Boss, so 75/25. And it is like a navy, a teal-ish navy. It's coming up pretty accurately on my screen anyway, and it is a lovely tonal blue color, and I am so excited because I am really into navies, and I can't wait to put it on my needles. And don't they ever look good together? Like the speckles in here are navy. Like it's gonna be a match made in heaven. So maybe it's the Ora shawl that I'm making, maybe it's a different one, but whatever I pick, these are going together. I'm making them together. And again, you know, I really want to be knitting on a shawl right now. I don't know if it's because it's summer or what, but I really want to do that. So anyway, that was my haul. She also brought me back, she said, here's a piece of Alberta, little brick bubble buttons. They are adorable little mountain scenes. I think they're adorable. And, oh yeah, okay, so I also said I want any charm from Bunny and Toot. I don't care which one it is. You pick. Surprise me. There. It is a little donut. And it is too cute. And I love it. I think it is too cute. In fact, I put it on my sock when I was doing the toe. Not that I need a stitch marker or a progress keeper for a sock toe, but I couldn't stop. Anyway, so I stuck it on the bag. Oh, so lucky. So lucky. Anyway, that's it. Did I get through everything? Was there anything that I missed? It's Father's Day this weekend. I took the kids to the Mud Oven, which is a paint your own ceramics studio here in Ottawa, and we painted Ryan the most god-awful looking mug. But somehow I think it is adorable and the most amazing thing. Let me see if I can put a photo in here for you. I don't know. I mean, I had these plans of doing a base coat first and then, you know, Declan adding some last bits and bobs to it, but he just went with it, and it is hideous but also adorable. So anyways, yeah, that's that for Father's Day. I've got 3 weeks left until I go back to work. Mixed feelings. I'm really gonna miss my spare time. I'm really gonna miss my baby. I'm really gonna miss going on lunch dates, coffee dates. I'm just gonna miss that bonding time. And I'm really looking forward to going back to work because I love my job, I love the people I work with, I love where I work, I love the location of my job. I work in an office downtown doing web communications. I do a lot of writing, I do some planning. I really like my job, but this has been a wonderful maternity leave, so I've been pretty lucky. So again, mixed feelings. Sometimes I'm excited to be using my brain again and have a hot coffee and just have a bit more me time. Other times I'm just like, how am I going to leave my baby every day? Anyway, the struggle is real, friends. The struggle is real. Anyway, I hope the sound quality worked out for this episode, given the party that's happening behind me. And yeah, that's it. If you have any questions about my vintage knitting machine, about my knits, about my projects, if you have any questions at all, send me an email, go over to my Instagram. You can find me, I'll have all the information at the end of this episode, but you can find me at heather.o.connell, or you can even just search Peacock Knits and I should come up in the search bar on Instagram. You can also send me an email. Yeah, so if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a big thumbs up, consider subscribing. It just makes me feel so good when I see the comments down below and when I see that people are enjoying hanging out with me, because I'm just doing this like for fun. I really just like meeting all of you, so thank you for joining me. Anyways, hope you have a great week. Talk to you later. Goodbye.